There is a cold, silent, and entirely devastating phenomenon that occurs in the physical space between human beings. It is not a violent explosion. It does not happen in the middle of a loud, chaotic argument. It happens quietly, behind the eyes of someone you deeply care about, someone you admire, or someone you wish to lead. You look at them, and you can physically feel the heavy, undeniable shift in the atmosphere. The magnetic charm disappears. The gravity of your presence evaporates. The profound, terrifying realization sets in: they have stopped taking you seriously. The respect is completely gone. And the most agonizing part of this tragedy is that this respect was not stolen from you by a superior enemy. It was willingly surrendered, bled out through the microscopic fractures of your own daily vocabulary. Listen to me with absolute clarity. If you find yourself constantly losing the admiration of your partner, your peers, or your environment, it is not because you are inherently flawed or fundamentally weak. You are failing because society has deeply intentionally programmed your nervous system to speak the language of the prey. You were taught to be polite, to be humble, and to use soft, agreeable language to avoid conflict at all costs. But the primitive, biological nervous systems of the people around you do not care about modern social etiquette. They are constantly reading your biology. They are listening to the hidden frequencies beneath your voice, and certain specific words act as a massive, glaring biological signal that your nervous system is fragile, terrified, and unfit for the throne. Today we are going to permanently rip this toxic vocabulary from your throat. We will dissect the 5 words of ruin, the hidden language that completely destroys human respect. We will begin at word number 5 and descend into the absolute lethal depths of word number 1. Listen to me with unshakable reverence. Word number 1 is so incredibly common, so deeply disguised as a virtue, that an estimated 90% of people use it every single day. They use it believing they are being peaceful and accommodating, completely blind to the fact that they are violently assassinating their own biological sovereignty. If you are truly ready to purify your language, drop the illusion of the submissive performer and reclaim the heavy, unshakable gravity of your empire. Walk with me now. Settle your physical body. Anchor the heavy bones of your feet into the earth. Lower your breath deep into the silent cavern of your abdomen, and let the frantic, desperate noise of the modern world fall completely away. To rebuild the indestructible fortress of your presence, we must first examine the cracks in the foundation. We must understand how the illusion of the victim is built word by word. We begin with the 5th word that immediately shatters the illusion of your power. Word number 5 is fair. That is not fair. You are not treating me fairly. It isn't fair that this happened to me. When you open your mouth and utter the word fair, you believe you are demanding justice. You believe you are standing up for your fundamental human rights. But you must understand exactly how the primitive subconscious brain of the person standing across from you processes that specific sound. The concept of fairness is a completely artificial, human-made illusion. In the profound, brutal, and absolutely honest reality of the natural world, fairness does not exist. If you walk into the deep forest and observe a massive, ancient oak tree being violently struck by a lightning storm and burned to ash, the tree does not cry out to the sky that the storm was unfair. The storm simply is. The lion does not consider the concept of fairness when it chases down the weakest gazelle in the herd. Fairness is a highly complex, fragile expectation created by a society that wishes to protect the weak from the harsh reality of existence. When you complain to a partner, a boss, or the universe that a situation is not fair, you are immediately signaling a catastrophic collapse of your internal sovereignty. You are verbally confessing that you expect the external world to act as your parent. You are demanding that the chaotic, unpredictable ocean of life lower its waves simply because you do not know how to swim. The exact millisecond the word fair leaves your lips, you transition from the architect of your reality into a helpless, complaining victim. You have taken the heavy crown of your own responsibility and handed it directly to the person or the circumstance that is hurting you. The biological respect of the room instantly evaporates, because an apex predator does not beg the environment for fair treatment. An apex predator adapts to the environment and dominates the terrain as it actually is. But the architecture of weakness goes even deeper than the illusion of justice. Once you abandon the expectation of fairness, you must face the insidious, comforting lie of your own effort. This brings us to the fourth word of ruin, a word that actively poisons the polarity and trust in every relationship you hold dear. Word number 4 is try. I will try to be better. I will try to get it done. I'll try to change. In the ancient, unforgiving courtyards of the Shaolin temple, there is no such concept as trying. You either execute the physical form, or you do not. The word try is the ultimate, pathetic escape hatch built by a deeply insecure ego. When you tell someone that you will try to do something, you are pre-planting the seed of your own failure right into the fertile soil of the conversation. You are building a psychological safety net so that when you inevitably fail, you can look at them and say, "Well, I told you I would try. I gave it my best effort." Let us examine the devastating biological impact this word has on the people who rely on you, particularly within the magnetic polarity of the masculine and feminine dynamic. Whether you are a man or a woman holding the masculine frame of leadership and provision in a specific moment, your absolute core responsibility is to provide the heavy, unshakable gravity of certainty. The feminine energy, the chaotic, beautiful, flowing ocean of emotion and intuition, requires the solid, immovable mountain of your certainty in order to feel biologically safe, to surrender, and to fully respect you. When your partner looks at you with deep concern about a massive problem in your shared life, and you lower your eyes and softly say, "I will try to fix it," you have just sent a catastrophic biological shockwave through their nervous system. You have not provided a mountain, you have provided a pile of shifting sand. Their subconscious mind instantly translates the word try as "I do not have the competence to guarantee this outcome, and I am already preparing my excuse." How can anyone possibly surrender to, respect, or deeply admire a leader who requires an escape hatch before the battle has even begun? The heavy, untouchable presence of a sovereign mind dictates that your word must be absolute iron. If a task is beyond your current capability, you look them dead in the eyes and tell them the brutal truth. "I cannot do this right now." If the task must be done, you say, "I will do it." You must violently and completely eradicate the word try from your existence. You execute, or you rest. You commit, or you decline. But you never, under any circumstances, hover in the pathetic, lukewarm purgatory of trying. When you speak with the absolute finality of iron, the biological respect of the room returns instantly, because the room recognizes a nervous system that is willing to carry the crushing weight of total consequence. You have violently stripped away the victimhood of demanding fairness, and you have destroyed the cowardly escape hatch of trying. Your language is becoming heavier, denser, and more aligned with the absolute physical reality of the present moment. But the most dangerous, catastrophic leaks in your vocabulary are not the ones born of obvious fear. The most lethal fractures in your sovereign armor are the ones deeply, tragically disguised as love, connection, and vulnerability. We must now dissect the fatal frequency of human attachment. This brings us to the third word of ruin and the absolute collapse of magnetic polarity. Word number 3 is need. I need you. I need your support. I need you to understand me. Modern society, corrupted by weak poetry and romanticized Hollywood illusions, has completely brainwashed you into believing that expressing deep need for another human being is the ultimate declaration of love. You have been taught that vulnerability means exposing your empty hands and begging the other person to fill them. You must look at this dynamic through the cold, unforgiving lens of neurobiology. When you look into the eyes of your partner or your team and you utter the word need, you are not expressing love. You are broadcasting a parasitic frequency. You are verbally confessing that your internal biological vessel is entirely empty, and you are aggressively demanding that they become your life support system. Listen to the silent, invisible mechanics of polarity, specifically the profound dynamic between the masculine and the feminine. The essence of attraction and respect is rooted in absolute, unshakable sovereignty. The feminine energy is an expansive, chaotic, and beautiful force of nature, much like a violent, magnificent ocean. It deeply craves the heavy, immovable, dense presence of the masculine mountain to crash against, to find structure, and to feel biologically safe. If the mountain suddenly looks down at the ocean and says, "I need you to hold me up," the entire biological architecture of the relationship violently implodes. The mountain has just confessed that it is not made of stone. It is made of fragile, shifting sand. The exact millisecond you tell your partner that you need them to be happy, or you need their validation to feel secure, their primitive nervous system registers a massive, suffocating threat. You have just taken the heavy, crushing weight of your own emotional survival and placed it squarely onto their shoulders. It is psychologically exhausting. You cannot deeply admire a human being who operates as an emotional vampire. You cannot feel an intense magnetic attraction to a black hole. Attraction requires a space between two whole entities. Need completely suffocates that space. There is a profound, terrifying difference between sovereign desire and parasitic necessity. A sovereign king or queen does not need anyone. Their internal cup is already full to the absolute brim with their own discipline, their own purpose, and their own cultivated peace. When a master engages with a partner, they say, "I choose you. I desire your presence." Choice is the language of gods. Need is the language of beggars. When you eradicate the word need from your vocabulary, you instantly reclaim your throne. People will feel a massive magnetic pull toward you, precisely because your presence does not demand a tax on their vital energy. Once you have killed the parasite of emotional need, your biology is secure. Your energy is contained. But securing your energy means absolutely nothing if you consistently betray the trust of the people around you. Respect is not just about emotional density. It is about the undeniable, physical weight of your actions in the fabric of time. This brings us to the second word of ruin, and the ultimate betrayal of your own potential. Word number 2 is tomorrow, or its equally toxic twin, someday. I will fix this tomorrow. Someday, I will be the person you deserve. I will start building my empire tomorrow. In the blood-stained, hyper-focused reality of martial combat, the concept of the future is a deadly hallucination. If a warrior stands on the battlefield and plans to strike his enemy tomorrow, he is already a dead man. The primitive, limbic brain of the human being standing across from you operates exactly like the battlefield. It does not possess the capacity to process your grand, magnificent promises about the future. It only respects the heavy, undeniable, kinetic reality of what you are doing in the absolute present moment. When you use the word tomorrow, you are deploying the ultimate psychological anesthetic for a lazy, undisciplined ego. You must understand the dark neurobiology of this word. When you announce your grand plans to change tomorrow, your brain instantly releases a massive, intoxicating hit of dopamine. You feel the exact same chemical satisfaction and pride as if you had actually accomplished the difficult task. But you have bypassed all of the agonizing physical friction, pain, and discipline required to actually do it. You are getting high on an illusion, and the people around you can feel the emptiness of that illusion in their bones. When a relationship is fracturing, when your partner is exhausted by your lack of leadership, and you look at them and say, "I promise I will change tomorrow," you are handing them a counterfeit coin. At first, they might accept it, but when tomorrow inevitably becomes today, and your actions remain exactly the same, the counterfeit coin turns to ash in their hands. Every single time you use the word tomorrow to delay a necessary discomfort, you are taking a sharp, invisible knife and severing one of the heavy ropes of respect that tethers you to the people you love. You become known as the architect of empty castles. Your words become completely weightless. They become the chaotic, buzzing noise of a fly, annoying, meaningless, and entirely ignored. A sovereign mind does not speak of tomorrow. The vocabulary of the master is terrifyingly immediate. If a flaw is identified, the master does not announce a future plan. The master simply executes the correction in absolute silence, right now. The present moment is the only terrain where respect can actually be forged. You have mapped the treacherous landscape of the victim, the coward, the parasite, and the dreamer. You have purged the words fair, try, need, and tomorrow from the physical architecture of your throat. Your presence is now dense. Your words have gravity. But there is one final, agonizingly difficult frontier remaining. We are now standing before the heaviest iron door in human psychology. Behind this door lies the absolute destruction of leadership, a biological failure so common and so deeply misunderstood that an estimated 90% of humanity commits it daily, believing they are doing the right thing. We must now dissect the lethal, ultimate word number one, the complete abdication of the throne. Word number one is whatever, or its equally destructive, pathetic variations. Fine, I don't care, or it is up to you. Modern society has infected you with a deeply pathological definition of what it means to be a good partner, a good friend, or a good human being. You have been aggressively conditioned to believe that being easygoing, chill, and overly accommodating makes you highly lovable. You believe that by suppressing your own desires, having no strong preferences, and constantly deferring to the choices of others, you are being generous, selfless, and peaceful. This is a catastrophic, devastating lie. It is the ultimate illusion of the weak ego trying to mask its fear as a moral virtue. To understand why the word whatever instantly, permanently kills respect, you must understand the brutal neurobiology of decision-making. The human brain is a biological engine, and it consumes a massive amount of metabolic energy to analyze variables, anticipate consequences, navigate risks, and make a firm decision. Decision-making is the heavy lifting of the mind. It is the psychological equivalent of carrying a massive boulder up a steep hill. It is the absolute, crushing weight of the crown. When you are standing in the middle of a chaotic situation, a crisis, or even a mundane daily interaction, and a partner, a peer, or a child looks at you and asks for your direction, they are not just asking for an opinion. Their nervous system is actively seeking the mountain. They are looking for a biological anchor to absorb the heavy cognitive load of the moment. They are asking you to carry the boulder. When you look back at them, shrug your shoulders, and softly say, "Whatever you want to do is fine with me." You are not being kind. You are not being a peaceful monk. You are committing a profound act of psychological cowardice. You are violently shoving the crushing weight of leadership and consequence directly back onto their shoulders. You are forcing them to burn their own vital energy to navigate the ship simply because you are too terrified of making the wrong choice and being held responsible for the outcome. Let us examine the devastating, irreversible impact this has on the magnetic polarity between the masculine and the feminine. The masculine essence, whether embodied by a man or a woman in that specific moment, is the penetrating force of direction, structure, and absolute certainty. The feminine essence is the radiant, flowing, chaotic, and magnificent ocean of life. For the ocean to feel biologically safe enough to surrender, to express its true beauty, and to be deeply vulnerable, it absolutely requires the unbreakable stone banks of a river. It requires a rigid container. The exact millisecond you abdicate your direction and say, "whatever," you completely shatter the stone container. The feminine energy is instantly plunged into a state of biological panic. Because you refuse to lead, the other person is forcefully ejected from their natural state of flow and violently shoved into the masculine role of having to manage the cold, heavy logistics of reality. They must now become the structure. They must navigate the terrain. They must make the decisions. And in that exact tragic moment, their romantic attraction, their deep admiration, and their biological respect for you violently dies. They may smile politely, They may make the decision for you and pretend everything is normal. But deep within their cellular structure, a dark, heavy resentment begins to fester and rot. Because you refuse to carry the weight, they begin to view you not as a sovereign, powerful equal, but as another dependent child that they must constantly manage, organize, and care for. And it is a cold, undeniable rule of human biology. You cannot feel magnetic, sexual, or profound respect for a child you have to manage. You only feel exhaustion and pity. This is the lethal trap where 90% of humanity completely fails. They watch their relationships slowly turn cold. They watch their partners become distant, irritable, and hardened. They stand there in pathetic confusion, raising their empty hands and asking, "Why are you upset with me? I never demand anything. I let you do whatever you want. I am so easy to please." They do not realize that being easy to please without having a spine is the absolute signature of a hollow vessel. A true sovereign master does not drift aimlessly like a dead leaf on the surface of a rushing river. They have a heavy, undeniable trajectory. They have deeply rooted preferences. They possess a spine forged of iron. Imagine a massive ship caught in a violent, terrifying midnight storm. The black waves are crashing aggressively over the deck. The wind is howling. The crew is panicked, exhausted, and desperately fighting to keep the vessel from sinking. They look to the captain at the wheel, their eyes wide with fear, and they scream, "Captain, the rocks are ahead! Do we steer port or starboard?" Imagine the absolute, terrifying horror if the captain simply smiled, shrugged his shoulders, and softly replied, "Whatever you guys feel like doing is fine with me. I'm easygoing." Mutiny would be instantaneous, not out of malice, not out of hatred, but out of the pure, primitive biological necessity to survive. A crew will instantly, violently overthrow a captain who refuses to steer the ship in a storm. To reclaim your empire and to command the absolute, terrifying respect of every room you enter, you must embrace the heavy discipline of taking a stance. You must speak with the finality of iron, even in the smallest, most seemingly insignificant moments of your daily existence. When you are asked for your preference, you do not deflect. You do not hide. You search your internal core, you make a firm decision, and you state it clearly into the physical space. We will go here. We will do this. I prefer that. And here is the ultimate, terrifying secret of the sovereign mind. It does not matter if your decision is wrong. If you pick the wrong path, if the restaurant is closed, if the strategy fails, you simply bear the heavy, crushing weight of the consequences with your head held high. You do not complain, and you immediately correct the course. Human beings will infinitely respect and blindly follow a leader who makes a firm, incorrect decision and takes absolute responsibility for it, far more than they will ever respect a coward who says whatever just to avoid the risk of being blamed. By completely eradicating the word whatever from your throat, you are sending a profound, invisible shockwave to the deep, unconscious biology of everyone around you. You are telling them, I am the captain of this ship. I am willing to carry the heavy weight of the crown. I will absorb the chaos of the world, and I will forge it into clear direction. You can rest your nervous system now. I have the wheel. You have now mapped the 5 deadly fractures of the human vocabulary. You have witnessed the pathetic illusion of the victim asking for fairness, the cowardice of the attempt, the parasitic gravity of need, the counterfeit coin of tomorrow, and the catastrophic mutiny of abdicating your decisions. You now understand exactly how the biological currency of respect is gained, and exactly how it is bled completely dry. But merely knowing the map is not the same as walking the brutal, agonizing path of the mountain. The true war does not happen in the quiet safety of your own mind while you listen to these words. The true war begins the exact millisecond you step back out into the chaotic, demanding theater of the real world, and you physically refuse to speak the language of the prey. We must now prepare your nervous system for the violent, invisible shockwave of the aftermath. When you wake up tomorrow and you intentionally remove these 5 words from your throat, you are going to trigger a massive biological disruption in the people around you. You must anticipate this. For years, your partner, your family, and your peers have been deeply conditioned to interact with a specific version of you, a version that was malleable, agreeable, and willing to carry the heavy emotional load of being easy to please. Their primitive limbic systems rely on your submissive vocabulary to feel in control of the dynamic. The moment you stand your ground, the moment you drop the word whatever, and instead look them dead in the eyes and make a firm, unshakable decision, their biology will experience a profound psychological glitch, and they will unconsciously, violently test you. Human nature fundamentally despises sudden change in the pack. When you suddenly assume the heavy, dense posture of the sovereign mind, the people closest to you will not immediately applaud your new strength. They will push back. They will try to find the cracks in your new armor. They might accuse you of being cold. They might tell you that you are suddenly acting arrogant, stubborn, or distant. They will create a manufactured crisis, a chaotic storm, simply to see if they can force you to break character, revert to the language of the victim and say, "I am sorry, I will try to be better." You must expect this resistance. It is the extinction burst of their own comfort zone. When the wind howls and violently crashes against the newly formed mountain, the mountain does not apologize for being made of stone. You must lock your jaw. You must breathe heavily into the dantian. You must allow them to experience the extreme discomfort of your new boundaries without offering them a single syllable of retreat. If you hold the frame, if your vocabulary remains stripped of weakness, their panic will eventually subside, and the frantic resistance will slowly, undeniably transmute into a deep, primal respect. They will realize that the captain has permanently returned to the wheel. But to hold this wheel, you must prepare your heart for the ultimate unspoken price of sovereignty, the profound and magnificent loneliness of leadership. When you stop complaining about fairness, when you stop begging for validation through need, and when you assume the crushing weight of making the final decision, you are stepping out of the crowded, noisy valley of the followers and ascending to the peak. The peak is inherently isolated. There is no one above you to blame when things go wrong. There is no one to save you when the storm hits. You are no longer the child waiting to be managed by the universe. You are the sovereign architect. Many unmastered minds confuse this sacred solitude with isolation. They return to the weak vocabulary of the masses because they are terrified of standing alone in the silence of their own authority. You must reframe this entirely. This loneliness is not a punishment. It is the absolute quiet sanctuary of the king and the queen. It is the vast open space required for your true magnetic gravity to finally take hold. When you are comfortable in this heavy silence, you become the biological anchor that the entire chaotic world desperately wants to tether itself to. I know the agonizing, invisible exhaustion many of you have been carrying deep inside your cellular structure for all these years. I know the profound, quiet tragedy of spending your entire existence acting as a hyper-vigilant chameleon, constantly altering your vocabulary, shrinking your presence, and betraying your own spine just to keep the peace in a room full of unmastered adults. You have burned the pure, liquid gold of your life force desperately trying to be the nice person, believing that if you just demanded nothing, if you just said whatever enough times, the world would eventually reward you with unconditional love and deep admiration. You were lied to. Shrinking your physical and psychological presence to accommodate the fragility of others did not earn you their respect. It merely invited them to comfortably consume your space. You walked away from 1,000 interactions feeling completely invisible, hollowed out, and entirely stripped of your power, carrying a toxic shame that never belonged to you. You were taught that the language of submission was the language of connection. It was the exact friction that kept you chained to the bottom of the ocean. But the era of your desperate verbal submission is now officially permanently dead. The biological hemorrhage has been permanently stopped. You now possess the ancient, heavy, invisible architecture of the untouchable mind. You understand the pathetic illusion of fairness. You have destroyed the cowardly escape hatch of the attempt. You have eradicated the parasitic frequency of need. You have burned the counterfeit coin of tomorrow. And you have ruthlessly executed the disease of abdication, assuming the terrifying, magnificent weight of absolute leadership. The stages of the world are already built for tomorrow. The high-stakes rooms, the chaotic relationships, and the demanding social theaters are actively waiting for you to walk through the door. Tomorrow morning, when the violent storm of life inevitably arrives, and the heavy, anxious eyes of the world look to you for a biological anchor, what vocabulary will leave your throat? Will you use the pathetic, hollow words of the prey to escape the crushing weight of the moment? Or will you sit in absolute, terrifying silence until you have the physical and spiritual strength to speak the undeniable language of the mountain? The choice is yours. The path is open. Amituofo.